welcome to the DFC Finding Value. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Rob Mazaika. Taking a look at tonight's big slate, and you and I were checking out the GPPs. Both, monster $4 tournaments, or if you have the extra cash, you can go up to the 1,500.
Yeah, these tournaments tonight are huge. There's 150K to first on both FanDuel and DraftKings. So you're going to have to do something crazy in these tournaments to get that top prize with 290-something thousand people in these tournaments.
Yeah, we're looking at tonight's games. Everyone's over 200 for a total. And you and I were talking before. Basically, there's no games that we're really looking to fade. Everyone kind of serves a purpose tonight.
Yeah, it's a great night to have these tournaments. There's all the games, they seem to have higher totals. There's a couple blowout potentials, but still, there's going to be people to target in every single game.
Yeah, those blowout games, obviously Denver Golden State's probably the one that I could see the most happening just because Warriors at home against this Nuggets team, it's just a different animal. But the other two, I think, should stay at least remotely close until the end.
Yeah, Golden State, they're about 15-point favorites, so that's kind of concerning. But they're still probably going to put up about 120 points in the game by themselves. So there's still going to be people to target on that team.
Yeah, definitely. And the other two we were looking at, Houston 9.5 favorites, Cleveland 10-point favorites, but still viable options there.
Yeah, that Houston game could actually stay close. So.
Yeah. Jumping into point guard tonight, and a couple of injuries to get out of the way. Obviously, Chris Paul looking doubtful again, and this time I'm actually okay with using the backcourt. Obviously, Phoenix, one of the poor backcourt defenses.
Yeah, Rivers would be the one that I would lean towards just because he in the games he didn't get ejected. He had 27 on FanDuel and then 29, and then he had the one bad game against Oklahoma City, but that happens to everyone. So I'm comfortable going back to him tonight.
Yeah, I am too, and I know, Jamal Crawford's been kind of, iffy and hasn't been shooting well of late, but against his Suns team in terms of pace, I don't mind him either if you're kind of looking to be a little bit different because I think there's a lot of value shooting guards tonight. Yeah,
there's a lot of guards that we were looking at before. There's tons at the cheap area. You could punt, you can go mid-range. There's a lot of ways you can go tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And Kyrie Irving has the questionable tag. If he sits out, obviously McRae would become a popular option. And I think that kind of focuses a little bit more attention towards LeBron James and Kevin Love.
Yeah, McRae, he played, was it yesterday, the other day? And he played very well. He absolutely balled out. And he's still very cheap on the site, so I'm comfortable going back to him. But that's more at a shooting guard position.
Yeah, 3,300 on DK, so decent punt. Shot 8 of 12, played 31 minutes. I think if Irving's out, you can see another 30-minute game there.
Yeah, definitely. Another point guard I'm looking at tonight on FanDuel only is it's John Wall. He's a little expensive, but if Patrick Beverley's out, who's going to defend him? Like, he should have no issue having his way against whoever's going to be guarding him. It's probably going to be Harden if Beverley's out. So the two of them might just go back and forth all game, and it would stay pretty close.
Yeah, it all becomes one of the better plays. And I think, you look at expensive price tag on DraftKings, but still a guy who's $2,000 cheaper than Westbrook. So I just still don't mind him, but I definitely like his price a lot more on FanDuel. I think in terms of value, It serves a little bit better.
Yeah, and speaking of Westbrook, he's also in play, like always.
Yeah, as if we need to say anything.
Yeah, he's a walking triple-double. He even hasn't been playing that many minutes these last two games, 28 minutes, 23 minutes, and he still had a triple-double in 28 minutes the other night.
Yeah. So,
it's just the upside he has.
Yeah, it's there. So, cash GPPs, it just seems get yourself at least some Westbrook. In the far, cheap guys tonight, we talked about the Clippers. Shelvin Mack is a guy who I think has been frustrating to roster, but I feel like in a GPP, I always don't mind it, especially against this Brooklyn team with George Hill out, but definitely more deep in risk.
Yeah, I have no issue using him, especially on FanDuel. He's only 3,800, so he's near minimum, and he's probably going to be playing 25 to 30 minutes against the Nets, and we love targeting players against the Nets like we always do. And he should be able – I know he stands in the corner, does nothing sometimes, but in 30 minutes against the Nets, he should be able to at least hit his value. Yeah,
so I think in terms of a salary relief, if you're going stars and scrubs, I don't mind him. And we saw Brandon Jennings enter the rotation with Courtney Lee and Porzingis out. I could see that happening again and at a cheaper price tag. I mean, I don't mind going back to the well, but I don't know if I can quite trust it for cash games.
Yeah, I would lean to using him in tournaments only because he's not going to get the 40 minutes and the 48 fantasy points that he had last game. That's probably not going to happen, especially with Carmelo playing and Derrick Rose playing, taking over a lot of the shots and stuff. So he's still a good play in tournaments.
Yeah, because I mean, if, people that didn't miss that last game, Melo sat out the second half, so it was a lot of Rose and Jennings just kind of going off.
Yeah, and then another cheap point guard we were talking about before was Brogdon on the Bucks. He's coming off a game where he had a triple double. What do you think of him tonight, Jason?
So I mean, we were talking Deladova may or may not be back. The price tag has definitely come up a little bit. I mean, 5,100. I think what's he on FanDuel? He's a bit cheaper, right?
Yeah, he's 4,300 on FanDuel.
Yeah. So I mean, 5,100 on DK is a little pricey for me, especially given that he's really not a high usage guy in that offense still. But I don't mind him. I still think he's a value option, especially because he's shooting guard eligible on DK. The mints were there even before Deladova went down.
Yeah, I think he's definitely usable on FanDuel where he's only 4,300. I mean, he should get probably around 30 minutes in the game tonight. And that game, it could even be an overtime potential game. Vegas has it as a pick 'em right now. So, and when he's going to be on the floor, he's going to be on Westbrook.
Yeah.
So the two of them, they'll go back and forth sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, for me, I think this middle range, like getting away from Derrick Rose with Porzingis doubtful. I mean, both him and Melo's usage just skyrockets. 6,500 on both sites. I mean, I think he's going to be one of the chalkier options if once Porzingis is ruled out, because this is a guy with 40 plus fantasy point upside at a really nice price tag.
Yeah, I like Rose a lot tonight. He's definitely a good play for cash in the mid range option if you want to go that route. I'm probably going to have him on a good amount of my teams tonight too.
Yeah, I mean, I think GPPs and cash, and outside of that, though, I mean, that might take away a little bit of those kind of mid-range options, but I don't mind Bledsoe. I like Drew Holiday at 6,500 on DK if you're kind of building around that Cleveland-New Orleans game stack. What do you think of Kemba tonight?
I like him a lot better when he's at home. Yeah. I mean, he's got a good matchup, but he's a lot better player at home. So I'm probably not.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I mean, shooting a little bit better at home, it's always been his thing. And in that same game, I mean, Michael Carter-Williams drawing another start tonight. This is a guy who should see 30 minutes.
Yeah.
GPPs, I like it.
Yeah, I like it in tournaments. I mean, he's just so bad, though. I know this price is cheap, but he's not a great player.
That's the thing.
He still could hit his value. It's just
I mean, I don't mind.
I don't know.
I mean, turnovers are always somewhat of an issue.
Yeah, he's all right for his price. I would use him in tournaments only, though.
Yeah, because I mean, he's got some steal upside. I mean, he's not a bad defender in those regards. The shooting's awful, so that's the only thing.
Yep. But if he can rack up maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 steals, he's got a pretty decent floor in this one.
Yeah, definitely. And outside of that, I mean, shooting guard or anyone else at point guard you like?
Nah, that's all I got. We talked about a lot of guys. Let's move on.
Yeah. Shooting guard, I mean, injuries, Bradley Beal questionable tonight. I'm more just kind of focused on guys around him. I think Otto Porter for me would just become a really solid play, and I think Gortat would get a little bit usage down low.
Yeah, and Wall too. If Beal's out, that would be a huge bump to the entire team. I'm really hoping that both Beal and Beverly are out in that game, so it could be a nice little shootout.
Yeah, and we get some kind of focus value there. Mm-hmm. Evan Fournier, questionable. He's been missing the last couple of games. Meeks has been a guy who stepped in. Mints have been right around 25 to 30. Hasn't particularly done any great games because obviously, his peripheral stats always lack. But great matchup. New York has been kind of surprisingly bad against shooting guards this year. Yeah,
we saw what Harden did against them the other night, having the game of the century. And he's very scoring dependent. If his shot's falling, he'll hit his value. He's only 4K on FanDuel. So he's actually going to need maybe about 16 real points just to hit his value. But it's a tournament-only play.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, in play for a cheap guy, we got some guys on shooting guard eligible like Austin Rivers, Brogdon. So, I mean, I think DK makes it a little bit easier to use those guys just at a shooting guard spot and kind of use point guard to kind of pay up, obviously. So that's one of the benefits you have at DraftKings. DK or FanDuel is a little bit different. We get those guys that we can kind of punt down to.
Yep, we actually just got news that Bradley Beal's on track to play tonight. So
there we go. Perfect timing.
There goes that right there.
Yeah. I mean, would he become in play for you in a GPP play?
Yeah, he actually would because he's going to draw Harden most of the time, even if Beverly plays, and it's a great matchup for him. I just hope his minutes are going to be there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and this is a guy who's always kind of iffy with injuries. I mean, that's been the story on him for pretty much his entire career so far.
Yeah, if he gets his regular allotment of minutes, I'm perfectly fine using him in tournaments tonight.
Yeah, I am too. Because we're Jimmy Butler, Nicholas Batum. I mean, both guys 8K. For me, I just feel like they're a little bit more expensive. I think there's better options to spend money on tonight. I can't rule them out in GPPs, but I don't know how much I'll be using them.
Yeah, and especially if they're both going to be guarding each other, they might just exhaust each other out just playing defense on each other, the way they both play.
Yeah, I mean, two of the better defenders too. That's my problem. I think with that game, it's those guys are kind of the focus points, and I think there's better options. That's probably one of the only games that I won't have as much exposure to.
Yeah, it's a fairly lower total compared to the rest of the games.
Yeah.
Another player that we were just talking about before was Klay Thompson. Even in the blowout, he still should get his 32 plus minutes, and this matchup is just perfect for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing really well. I mean, in terms of blowouts and stuff anyway, like he's still been a guy who can get 30 plus fantasy points. I don't know if I quite like it I'm kind of torn between GPPs and cash with him if I'm leaning one way or the other, but I kind of don't mind him in all formats.
Yeah, I would lean a little bit more GPPs just because he's very scoring dependent, but he could score 37 and a quarter. It's possible against this Denver team because they don't really play defense against the guards.
No, definitely don't. So, I mean, Thompson's an interesting guy and by far your cheaper option from that team.
Definitely.
So, outside of that, I mean, we kind of get into this mid-range here where Sean Kilpatrick, Eric Gordon, Devin Booker, guys I don't mind tonight.
Yeah, I don't mind them either. My favorite in that range would probably be I like Booker, especially if Paul is going to be out, and I know the Clippers have been a very stout defensive team against shooting guards, but Booker's an up and coming talent. He's a great player, and he's very shot dependent. So I would lean tournaments with him, but it's still a decent spot for him.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think with Chris Paul out, Blake Griffin out, I mean, we've kind of seen a little bit of a demise in the defensive play for LA.
Yeah, and they're actually in their 8th game in 12 nights, so they might be a little tired at this point.
And then have to play the fastest team in the NBA.
Yeah, so this game actually might be a sneaky game to target Phoenix Suns players against the Clippers tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. And then if Courtney Lee's out, Justin Holiday's been a really nice cheap shooting guard option, and playing about 25 to 30 minutes. This is a guy who's been above 25 fantasy points in each of the last 3 games. I don't mind him for another cheap option.
Yeah, I don't mind them at all. He's only 4K in FanDuel, so he only needs 24-ish points to hit his value, and he's done that his last 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, decent matchup as well.
Yep. Another player we were talking about, shooting guard, small forward, eligible on DraftKings, and I think he's a very sneaky play over there, is Tyreke Evans. He's just coming back from his injury, and his minutes limit should be about 20, 22 minutes tonight. And so he only needs about 27 fantasy points to hit his value, which he could easily do in the 20 minutes he's going to get.
Yeah, 28 and 26 in his last 2 games at 4,100 on DK. And especially we'll move into small forward, and you and I aren't particularly fans of this position tonight. So, it's not a bad way to go.
No, not at all. And then we got the studs at shooting guard, Harden and Antetokounmpo. They're always in play.
Yeah.
And then McRae, which we touched on before. If Irving's out, he's a solid play.
Yeah, definitely a good punt option. Moving over to small forward, and I mean, if Irving's out, I think LeBron James is just a guy I'll get a little bit more exposure to tonight against this New Orleans defense. And I mean, that FanDuel price is really attractive.
Yeah, I have a rule where if LeBron's under 10K on FanDuel, I try to get as much of him as possible because he's should never be under 10K with the amount of his consistent production that he does.
Yeah, I mean, he really shouldn't. I mean, he's averaging 48 points per or FanDuel points per game, you know. And you look, I mean, he's cheaper, 2K cheaper than guys like Harden and Westbrook. So I think that's also something to consider when you just kind of put those guys all in a pool of kind of the pay up options.
Yeah, and if Irving's out, you kind of just have to play him. I mean, the only risk is a blowout.
Yeah, that's the only thing. But I mean, I still think even in a blowout fashion, he's 48 plus FanDuel points.
Yeah, he's safe in all formats tonight.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of Durant? GPP play? I mean, I feel like he's a guy I don't mind sometimes in blowouts because usually he's a guy who can hit 50 plus anyway.
Yeah, the only really warrior I'm thinking about using tonight is Klay Thompson. I like Durant, but he seems to just show up in the bigger games right now with the Warriors because he hasn't really had to do too much. They're just blowing teams out when they get these matchups like this. And he'll play 3 quarters, most likely, and maybe get 45 FanDuel points, which is still solid, but when you're paying 10K, you're going to want a little more.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know what? If Brooklyn can hang, that means Denver can hang with them.
I don't know about that. Not in Golden State.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, it definitely is.
Speaking of Brooklyn, though, we got Gordon Hayward against them tonight. What do you think of him?
I like him a lot. I mean, no George Hill. Gordon Hayward's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. Really consistent player, really good cash game option. The price tag I'm not terrifically fond of, but I still think he's in play tonight.
Yeah, I think he's in play. That game's obviously a blowout concern, and I actually think this game blows out tonight. Just they're two styles. Utah's the slowest paced team in the league. Brooklyn's the fastest paced, and typically the better defensive team would dominate in those type of games. So I don't see Brooklyn hanging around past the third quarter tonight. But yeah, I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Issue. Yeah, but I mean, as you said, it really is two different styles. I mean, one thing, Utah going on the road, it might be a little bit closer.
Yeah, that's the only thing that could keep it close. And without George Hill, that helps Brooklyn a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely does. Carmelo Anthony, I mean, left last game, in the second half. This one would be interesting. I like him tonight just because Porzingis likely out. But I still think there is some general risk with him.
Yeah, if he's gonna get his normal amount of minutes, he's probably gonna shoot 20 times. And if his shot's falling, he'll do well. But if it's not, then he's gonna burn you. It's just how he's been this season.
Yeah, I mean, and a really good price tag on him. I feel like he's always been this year kind of cheap because it just seems to be so he's on or off this year. It's either getting you 28 or he's getting you 40 plus.
Yeah, I mean, he still has the ability to put up 40 regular points in the game at the amount of volume he takes. It's just he just hasn't looked good this season.
No, he hasn't. I mean, I think tonight you can definitely take a look at him, especially at that price tag because, I mean, it's fairly cheap for his usual standards. Yeah,
I would lean I would use him in tournaments. I can't trust him in cash. Never mellow in cash.
Yeah, I can't either right now. And we kind of start to get into a level here. I don't like a lot of cheap guys tonight. I think small forward, Otto Porter, and Trevor Ariza are probably the cheapest I'm going to be going.
Yeah, Trevor Ariza he's a great price for his production. On both sides, he should easily hit his value at that price.
I mean, super cheap, and this guy who has some steal upside as well.
Yeah, that game should be a very fast-paced game. It's the second highest total of the night, and it should be closer than the Warriors game. I'm hoping it stays close because this could make for a really good game stack.
Yeah, definitely. And we were talking, I mean, Wall, Harden obviously are expensive options, but guys like Ariza, guys like Porter, guys like Ryan Anderson, Gortat, those guys are all 5, 6K. I mean, I like those guys to kind of target to build around.
Yeah, those some good pieces to fit around, especially on DraftKings, where a balanced approach is usually one of the better ways to go with the way that these stars are priced up.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, small forward, anyone else you like? Below those guys, I really can't find anyone that
I like Kid Gilchrist a little bit. He's just consistently been hitting his value. He's only 4,700 on FanDuel. And then these teams played 2 weeks ago, and he had his best game in a season against them. I'm not saying he's going to have his best game in the season again, but I think he should have a solid game and hit his value.
Yeah, and this guy, I mean, you can usually rely on him for some good defensive stats as well.
Yeah, and he's probably not going to be getting matched up with Butler. It's probably going to be him against actually Doug McDermott a decent amount, who I also kind of like in this game as a punt option.
Yeah, but McDermott's gotten his minutes. I mean, and the guy obviously scoring dependent, but if he's on, this is a guy who can hit 20+ points.
Yeah, we saw him in college just hitting threes like crazy from Creighton. So
Yeah, definitely don't mind him off the bench. Anyone else? I mean,
that's about it.
yeah, it's not. It's forward position is not particularly fun tonight.
Yeah, it's a little weaker than most nights. The main place you guys are going to want to look is the guards, but the forwards are a good spot to differentiate yourself compared to the field.
Yeah, definitely. And power forward, I mean, Anthony Davis, particularly tough matchup. This is a guy that hasn't really played well on the road. Still a GPP play. He's always a GPP play.
Yeah, I wish he was more aggressive. He needs to learn from DeMarcus Cousins. If he played like Boogie, if he took the shots that Boogie took and just tried to take over a game, he could do it. He just doesn't. He's very passive when he plays.
And I think this is one of those nights I feel like it's a tougher matchup than usual because probably going to deal with some Tristan Thompson. Not a big fan of usually targeting against him. Kevin Love, I mean, Cleveland's obviously a good rebounding team. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know in terms of price where he lands with me. I think 1 or 2 shares out of multiple lineups is where I stand.
Yeah, I'm about the same. He's on FanDuel. He's probably going to be fairly high owned, probably the highest owned power forward. And it's because his price is only $10,800, which is the cheapest it's been the entire season.
So yeah, it has.
I would only use him in tournaments. I might have a share or two of him, but I'm actually going to lean toward a fade, just because I want to pay up for the other superstars.
Yeah, I think out of the terms of the other ones, he's probably my least favorite.
Yeah, same here.
So, and Kevin Love's gotten to a price where I like it. I like it if Irving's out. I'll have some shares, but I'm not going to go overboard on tonight because I still think he's a little bit overpriced.
Yeah, he's 8,400 on FanDuel, which is very high for him, especially for a guy who, if he's not scoring 25 real points, has a hard time hitting his value.
Yeah, I mean, 8,800 on DK, it's really expensive. And you look at a guy, I mean, 28 and 10 last game and didn't record a single other stat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great matchup for him. Don't get me wrong, but it's just, I don't know if I'll be on him tonight. I'm leaning towards saving at this position.
I just think when you can go down to like a Jokic and a GPP or a Jabari Parker or Serge Ibaka who have that type of upside and floor right now, it just seems to kind of go and take a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, with that being said, I think Jokic, great GPP play. I like Jabari Parker in this matchup. He's been playing really well of late.
Yeah, I like both those guys. Parker, he consistently gets those minutes. He gets, 35, 36 average minutes a game. And he should perform in this up-paced matchup in a close game. And then Jokic, if you think that game stays close, it's because of Jokic. That's the only way it'll stay close.
Yeah, and he's always got that foul trouble, I mean, potential risk. But, I mean, you look at what he can do. I mean, Philly, he only played 22 minutes and scored 37 FanDuel points. The guy's just a monster when he's out there.
Yeah, he's an excellent player, just very foul-prone, very volatile, a tournament-only guy.
Yeah, definitely. And then, I mean, power forward, Ryan Anderson, Enes Kanter. I don't mind those guys. Both 5,400 on power forward. I think that's where really the value section comes from tonight.
Yeah, I like Anderson. Definitely to go along with the Houston-Washington game stack that I want to do. Even if that game does turn into a blowout, he'll get some extra run and hitting some threes in transition and doing a little bit across the board.
Yeah, and, I mean, Washington, not particularly a great rebounding team, so, I mean, he should get a couple up extra there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then Kanter, he's also in a good spot against Milwaukee in a close game that's expected to be high scoring.
Yeah,
with Oladipo back, it concerns me a little bit with his minutes, but it's still a good spot for Kanter.
You and I were joking around about him and Greg Monroe just going up against each other and just letting each other score.
Yeah, neither of those guys play defense, so they could literally just go in the post every single time and do a little hook shot and just score. Yeah. It could happen for about 5 straight possessions too.
The guy you talked about, Maurice Bates, before the show, I mean, as a punt option, I mean, he's a guy always with some upside because he gets on the floor and just the usage is about through the roof.
Yeah, the only concern with him is the minutes because he'll never get more than 24 minutes in the game. Yeah. So his upside's a little capped, but his price is cheap enough where I'm okay with it.
I mean, in terms of like a stars and scrubs lineup, he kind of fits the bill.
Yeah, definitely. And then another player around that range, I like Derek Favors for the Jazz. He's coming off of an injury, so his minutes have been capped lately. But he's normally like a 7K type player, and he's only 4,900 right now on FanDuel. And it's a revenge game against a team who drafted him and traded him away. So I think he'll have a little extra incentive to perform tonight in his few minutes. And his price is cheap enough where I'm okay with using him in tournaments.
What are you going to see out of him tonight in terms of production? I mean, 25 FanDuel points.
Yeah, I'd project him around that 20, maybe a little higher, just because it's the Nets. So I'd say his upside is maybe like he might have like 32, 33 point upside with like a 20-point floor, and like an 18.
Because I mean minutes. Floor. Yeah, I mean minutes. I mean 25, 24 last two games. You could see him kind of working about that same, and targeting the Nets is something that you can easily do, especially at that price tag.
Yeah, and when he's healthy and if he gets 30 minutes in this game, if somehow does it, he should easily hit his upside and score over 30 fantasy points.
Yeah, in terms of ownership, I mean, it's got to be sub 5%, I would say.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, because I don't think a lot of people know that he's back or even care to look that he's back, to be honest.
Yeah, so I mean, moving over to center, and in terms of value, I don't mind Montrezl Harrell here, 4,600. I think for me, he's probably one of the riskier guys, I still think. I mean, I like Joakim Noah. I like Tristan Thompson, Cody Zeller. So there's a good amount of cheap kind of centers the more I'm digging into it here.
Yeah, there's a few of them that I like. Harrell, he's been playing well since Capella went down with injury. We saw a game out of him the other night where he scored 29 real points, and he just went off on national TV against the Clippers, against DeAndre Jordan. It was pretty fun to watch. So the upside is there with him. But and Gortat's not the best defender, so he's in a good spot. And then, yeah, there's some other players around that range. I like Cody Zeller against the Bulls. He's been consistently getting around 30 minutes a game. And the game log watchers, they'll be off him because he only played 20 minutes last game, but it's because he was in foul trouble.
Yeah, I mean, and big guys against Chicago really haven't been you usually don't stay away. I kind of like targeting Chicago because, well, Robin Lopez, I mean, he's only out there for about 20 minutes. Taj Gibson's kind of a little bit over the hill, I feel. And then they roll a lot of Mirotic. So I think, in terms of rebounding and kind of this fits into Zeller having a decent game.
Yeah, my only concern is that Chicago's rebounding rate is the third best in the league, but I still don't see it in the eye test.
That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I just don't.
It doesn't look it.
It's weird. I think because their guards are actually better rebounders than we give them credit for.
Yeah, that could be it. Rondo, when he's healthy, he gets a lot of rebounds, and Butler does a lot. So that could
I mean, I think that's pretty much it. But Joakim Noah, I mean, Porzingis out tonight, a guy who should flirt with about 30 minutes. There's some reasonable upside with him tonight, especially in this type of matchup.
Yeah, Orlando doesn't play much defense against bigs, especially if he gets matched up against Vucevic for a decent amount of time. That he should have no problem getting a few rebounds and maybe a couple extra buckets too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and do you want to say your name? Do you want to for the Knicks there?
I'll save it for a little bit longer.
All right, we'll save him for last. So.
We'll save him for last. Greg Monroe is another guy we like down there in that cheap range. His minutes have been trending up, and like we just talked about, that him and Enes Kanter going back and forth in the post. He has a potential to hit his value tonight and have a good game.
Yeah, definitely. GPP only for me.
Yeah,
just
definitely
because. Yeah, the rotation is always so iffy. He can either play 28 minutes or 13. It just seems to be Jason Kidd. I mean, the bigs have been always kind of rotating during his time there, but great matchup tonight.
Yeah, and then we should touch on the high end guys. We got Gobert, Jordan, and Lopez priced above pretty much everyone else. If you had to choose one of those three, who would you pick tonight? In tournaments.
In tournaments, I mean, I think it's tough, man. I mean, I'd probably Gobert. I'm just not a big fan of Jordan with Chris Paul out right now. I think that's my problem.
Yeah, I like Jordan. It's just he hasn't looked good with Chris Paul out. But then again, the Suns, they shoot like crazy and they miss a lot. So there's going to be a lot of rebounding opportunities there for him.
Yeah, he could realistically get 20 rebounds tonight.
Yeah, but he honestly might get 5 points and 20 rebounds without Chris Paul. That's the only problem with him.
I don't mind him tonight.
Yeah, I'm still okay with that floor. And then Gobert, if that game stays close, it's going to be him and Lopez going back and forth. So that could actually be a good battle to watch between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, given Gobert, or Brook Lopez, shooting threes right now. I don't mind him, given the fact that Gobert's a guy who usually stays home. So I think that's one thing to note.
Yep. And then, and he has the block upside. He can easily get 3 or 4 or 5 blocks in
Yeah,
this game tonight against the Nets.
yeah, definitely could. And Gortat, I really don't mind tonight at his cheaper price tag. I think because center, there's no Karl Anthony Towns, there's no Cousins. I'm okay with kind of using cheaper guys tonight.
Yeah, there's really no absolute studs to pay up for at the position, so I'm okay with going mid-range cheap. And speaking of cheap, we're gonna save the best for last. Willy Hernan Gomez with Porzingis out tonight. He's tournament only. If you're playing 10 teams, I'd suggest just having him on one. But he has shown 10x upside before. He should get about, I don't know, 20 to 25 minutes in the game tonight, and he's just about min price across the board. So my bold call is that he's going to be on the winning tournament lineup tonight for the 150K
Man.
at 0.6% ownership. He might be a little higher with Porzingis now, maybe like 2% ownership.
And I think I'm probably going to do a share just for you, build a lamp and just make it for you. But and we're talking, this is a good size slate, 8 games. With being guard heavy, it's okay to kind of take some shots on cheaper guys at power forward and center and take some risks there.
Yeah, and like we said before, you're going to have to do something crazy to win one of these tournaments tonight. So Hernan Gomez, he could be the guy. He could be it.
So that's going to wrap things up here. Be sure to head on over to davidfantasycafe.com, check out our great tools and content, and good luck tonight.
Yeah, good luck. Someone take down that 150K for us if it's not us.
Yeah, as Russ always says, 1 point below me.
Exactly. Good luck.
We'll see you guys next time.